Current temperature, 29 degrees Fahrenheit. High of 33 degrees Fahrenheit at 3 p.m. Low of 22 degrees Fahrenheit at 4 a.m. Clear skies. Winds out of the southwest at 10 miles per hour. 25 inches mid-mountain, 33 inches at the summit. 1 inch new in the last 24 hours. 6 inches of new in the last 48. Cassie and her babysitter, Nancy, sat silently at the table eating lean cuisine cheese cannelloni frozen dinners. Nancy's breathing bothered Cassie, even though she knew Nancy couldn't help having sinus problems. Cassie just didn't want to listen to it. It reminded her of her mother's last 2 weeks, when her breathing had become so difficult. To make it worse, Nancy was sitting at her mother's place at the table. Cassie looked up at Nancy, wishing she weren't there, not in her mother's place at the table or in her mother's place as her caregiver. "Do you need something, Cassie?" Nancy asked. "Don't sit there anymore," Cassie said. Nancy looked startled and slowly stood. "Where would you like me to sit?" she asked gently. Cassie looked at her father's place at the table. "There," she said. "He's the one you're replacing." She looked back down at her cheese cannelloni while Nancy moved. The mere smell of it had made her stomach turn. Of all the frozen dinners, it was the least offensive, but it was offensive nonetheless. She'd never eaten out of cardboard during the 10 years of her life that her mother was alive, and she feared that if she kept eating lean cuisine, she would become as weak and fat as Nancy. She stared at her food and wondered if any of it really mattered. All of her Olympic dreams were going down the tubes anyway. She hadn't even joined ski team this year. When she skied, she felt sad now, so deeply sad, that she just wanted to lie down in the snow and fall asleep. She looked down at her dinner again and wanted to throw it, but she couldn't rally enough will even for that. She simply said, "I hate this crap," got up, walked up the stairs to her room, and locked herself inside. From her room, Cassie could hear the sound of Nancy's regular evening routine, the lid of the stainless steel garbage can opening and closing as she threw away the cardboard trays, the spring in the dishwasher door creaking as she opened it to put in the forks, the sound of running water, and the microwave beeping 2.5 minutes later. Finally, Cassie heard the questions and buzzers on Jeopardy, and occasionally Nancy's voice when she shouted out the few answers that she knew. As usual, the TV stayed on for the duration of the night, and the noise, combined with Nancy's snoring, drowned out the sound of Cassie's sobs during or after her nightmares. Mike Jones wanted to believe that Kate's soul was eternal, but he wasn't sure if a person could believe in that without believing in God. Believing in God wasn't so easy. 5 hours ago, he was on a call for a woman who drove off a steep embankment and miraculously was okay. She gave full credit to God. And now he was here, at this accident, a head-on collision between a semi-truck and a family in a minivan. Both parents and one child were dead. The other child appeared to have a punctured lung and probably internal bleeding. She was barely hanging on. With a dying little girl in the back of his aid car who would wake up without her family if she made it at all, he couldn't help wondering where God was this time. It made no sense to him, this idea that some people got God and some people didn't. There were those who had told him that we could not know the intention behind God's plan for us, that we had to trust that we were in good hands, and that maybe as our lives unfolded, we would see how something was for the best. And then there were the others who believed everything was a test, that God tried to protect us from the bad things, but sometimes Satan won, and that Satan tried to do things to diminish our faith in God. Mike glanced back as he drove on and listened to John and Ben continuing to work to stabilize the girl. He did not see how the outcome of this accident would ever be for the best, and he did not see Satan either. He saw only misfortune, human error, and misfortune. It brought him the most peace to simply believe that people were imperfect, and life was imperfect, and sometimes bad things just happened.